3, 2, 1. Let's go! I'm the host of the PBE podcast, Troy Tittlemeyer, sitting at Image 2023, where modern technology, modern ideas, new geologic concepts, it's all integrating, it's all here, and it's all for applied geoscience. That's what we're doing here at Image. I'm sitting down with Charlie. Sir, introduce yourself.
Charlie Stevens, VP of Sales for Microseismic, Inc.
VP of Sales.
That's it.
Nice. Now, let's rock it back. Where'd you go to school? Like, where'd you come out of? Where are you from?
From New York originally.
Really?
Went to Notre Dame.
Really?
And then went into the marine geophysics game, which I did for a number of years, traveling the world, following my boats around and acquiring seismic data.
Whoa.
And then had a little stint in the IT sales game with Citrix.
Citrix, huh?
Yeah, so thin client stuff.
Okay.
And then a buddy of mine knew Peter Duncan, was working for him, guy that I'd worked with before.
Yeah.
And so 2009, interviewed with Peter and, liked the idea of the company, where it was going and kind of the nascent customer base. And here I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, so you have a geophysics degree?
I do not.
Ah.
Science background. But
science background degree?
Right.
Okay. At a Notre Dame. That's pretty cool. You don't hear that all the time.
Go Irish.
There we go. I like that, Charlie. Well, cool. So once you got involved with Peter Duncan and you kind of saw the vision, you saw the technology. This is 2009. So I mean, horizontal drilling and fracking and all those things that kind of what's going on with microseismic. Where's our propping going? Where's the fluid really coming from? That hasn't really broke out yet, right? In 2009?
No, it was nothing like that. Basically, what we could offer was if we got good results, and there are some basins that in those days we were undersampled, but we could give you an SRV, so stimulated rock volume, which was a gross overestimate of really what you were producing from that wellbore.
Ah.
Really, really gross overestimate.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what was it about Peter Duncan? What was it about the vision? What really got you hooked and said, you know what, I want to be a part of this? What was it?
He's a charismatic person himself. He had a really good background, strong background. He started with Shell and been with some other companies before that. I guess the vision was a pivotal time in the shale industry that, as you mentioned, they are moving from verticals to horizontals.
Right.
The technology of the day, which was pretty much downhole, has a very limited viewing aperture. So Duncan came up with a way to measure from the surface, which means that you can get the entire wellbore and you can see the horizontal and vertical spread of the frac.
Wow.
Which was groundbreaking, earth-shattering.
Wow.
And as a sales guy on a commission, I'm thinking, it's not very long before this pops.
Yeah.
And boy, we were right.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. How exciting was that? So what's the first job that Peter Duncan did? Like, where was it? Do you know? Like, where was the first data coming from?
So we did some stuff, I think, up in the Uinta.
Okay.
And we had a product back in the day which was trying more to look at fluid flow and transfer.
Oh, nice.
And we soon realized no one wanted that, but they were interested in frac monitoring. So we completely redid the business model and we settled on the P-set that we have today. But some of those early jobs were in some far-off basins. We even had one in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was,
man.
And we had some good early partners like Anadarko and Chevron that helped us out because
really
they were interested themselves,
right?
And they liked the idea, the concept.
If you're going to spend $10 million, right? Just call it a big well. Maybe it's for a disposal well. It's for a deep reservoir that you want to produce. You're going to spend all this money. And your only view into that reservoir is the borehole itself and maybe the core that you take or some rotary sidewalls or maybe some petrophysical analysis that goes a few feet maybe into the reservoir. Like, that's all you're going to kind of know. Once you get down there, you can put an array, go a mile away in all directions, and then monitor the seismic, what's going on in the reservoir. I think that it just makes intuitive, logical sense. Right. Like, yes, I want that data. What's going on?
Yeah,
around
so
this
you
wellbore?
build up a picture of your reservoir over time. and microseismic's a big part of it. And, you know, it's kind of amazing to me that more people don't use it than they do. You know, starting off, I guess everybody did, right? They didn't know anything. The only thing that you were probably certain of when you drill a shale well, as opposed to a conventional well, is you're going to get hydrocarbons out of it.
Yeah.
And so you build up this picture, and now we have most of the operators have moved into what they call carpet bombing or lawnmower mode.
Yeah.
They've made their decisions
Strip
on
mining.
well straight. It's a commodity, right? So we're in that, and back in the day, we were helping people drill better wells, optimizing production. And I still think there's a lot of that work left to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, the street has spoken, and so you want drilling and you want recovery and you want profits, then, let's cut out the expenses, cut out science, and that kind of is where we find ourselves today, which is why we're moving on to other areas where we can apply the same technology.
So that makes sense. So the challenges of 2009 to present were kind of the energy was changing its kind of economic landscape. They were going from optimized, pinpoint accuracy, make every well count, every inch we put into this, every penny we put into this, let's make 10 back, to carpet bombing, kind of like just putting it everywhere, maybe monitoring a few wells here and there. There were some serious challenges as that progresses through time, I'm sure. You lived through that. Now, taking all those challenges and what you learned, and now seeing this, what appears to be a long road ahead for geothermal, carbon sequestration, and all these other things, you're seeing this road, you have all this experience. What are the challenges you're seeing today that need to be addressed with microseismic's 20 years experience?
So things really never change. Adoption is very slow. And so you have the technology to be adopted, and you have actually the carbon sequestration, you have the geothermal. I mean, it's amazing to me. So just a case in point at how slow this can be. Carbon, everyone seems to agree that there's too much of it and we need to put it away. I mean, it's on every green agenda there is.
Right.
Convention for carbon sequestration in Des Moines, entrance is blocked by protesters because they don't want pipelines. I mean, so I get it. Maybe they're NIMBYs or whatever, but you have to be able to have some concessions, or this stuff is just going to stay where it is.
Right.
You have to get it out of where it's produced and into a reservoir where you can get rid of it. And that's going to take a pipeline.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it's things like that. So adoption is slow. I think once we get there, we have a couple awards from the DOE on the carbon front to design the optimal array, mostly for caprock monitoring, because your carbon credits are no good if it escapes, right? So this ensures it stays in place and you can prove it. So we've got this array. Once again, it's based on our existing technology. It works really well.
Oh, I bet.
It's kind of instrument agnostic. You can use fiber, you can use geophones, and so really, it's just a question of processing it in either real time or, maybe every month is good enough. And you have that in combination with methane sniffers and carbon sniffers on the surface.
Nice.
But, it's just going to take time. Part of the problem is that you may have heard of this primacy, where the states are able to award permits for these Class 6 wells, which are the ones that you put the carbon away. And that's been exceedingly slow. I think there's only six of those wells in existence right now, after all this talk and bluster.
Whoa.
So there, that's on the horizon. But, we looked at this carbon and thought, boy, this is going to be the year when it picks up. It's not.
Wow.
And it'll probably be at least another year before there's enough adoption that'll make a difference for us.
Wow, interesting. Wow, that's something to keep tabs on for sure. Yeah. Everyone's wondering about that, what's going on there. How about geothermal? What's your take on the challenges of geothermal?
So it's very similar. If you look at the geysers plant, I think that puts out like 25 megawatts. It's, I think, the biggest geothermal project in the world. It's in California.
Is that? Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been there for years. I know, right?
Yeah.
So so it's a naturally occurring type of I think it's a closed loop system. And so you're relying pretty much just on the earth to heat your water and make your power, but it's a very limited output. The Biden administration says they want to power 40 million homes with geothermal by 37. Well, if you run the math on that, that's like gigawatts of power.
Wow.
Not megawatts. So the solution to that is to hydraulically stimulate, aka frack.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we're waiting right now. We are the world's experts on frack monitoring.
That's right.
And we can do the very same thing for the enhanced geothermal systems.
Right on.
Right now there's one company, Fervo, doing a great job in that space, but they're about it. So
Fervo is an operator that's actually doing modern fracks and opening up geothermal systems? Fervo.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they are the leaders in the business, and they realize that the only way we're going to get the output to meet those targets is to frack.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. You got to get a lot more of that fluid going. You got to get a lot more of the heat exchange going.
That's exactly it, and it works really, really well.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, I think, people realizing that, and then we just need to keep saying stimulation instead of fracking, and I think everything will be fine.
Terminology is so important. Right? It's so important. What the words we use to explain things, it's amazing. When you talk from technical people to business people to the people at boots on the ground, you got to change your terminology in order to get effective, the communication across and what they're really needing to do, because you can just lose somebody by using the wrong word. Right. It has this emotional response, or it has, this confusion. There's confusion with it. So communication is so important in what we do. Microseismic Inc. is international.
Yes.
And it's been like that since day one. You talk about the Saudi kingdom and all that, like back in the day with Peter Duncan and stuff. I mean, it's always been across the seas, on all the continents, like wherever you need to listen and you're trying to figure out what's going on in the subsurface, Microseismic has the ability to be there.
Yeah, so we're very opportunistic. And, typically in the frack game, there's, like, Europe is dead for shale, right? They're not going to be doing that anytime soon. There's some in Australia. I know China has some. But once again, I won't say they're awash in it, but there's certainly plenty of conventional hydrocarbons to extract in most of these places. The one exception is the Vaca Muerta in Argentina. We've been working down there for years.
Really?
That shale is very important to their economy.
Really?
But the great thing for Microseismic as we repurpose our technology is that the world will put away carbon. The world will continue to expand geothermal.
Yeah.
So these are markets that we can expand into easily. And we've started. I mean, we're already, got some geothermal projects underway.
Yeah.
And some carbon stuff internationally. So that's good. And it will only grow. The story is, it's a bright future for us.
Man.
Just needs to hasten along here a little bit.
All right. I like it, man. That's what you get to do. Since 2009, you've been growing with the company and watching where it goes. How about the karsting, the last little bit there? What do you see the challenges in this karst monitoring and better understanding the karst hazards?
So I think Gary was saying 20% of the earth is covered in karst, right? So there's a high degree of probability you're going to encounter them.
Right.
And, traditionally, we're trying to protect the aquifer. If something happens in a mining situation where, one of their tanks or holding, the water retention areas were to be swallowed up by a karst, it's very easy to get into the aquifer. So you would think, well, that's a no-brainer. Well, like many other things, it's a business, and adoption is slow.
Man.
And to be frank, I think we're going to need to have more regulatory oversight before you really see karsts come into the fold. So right now, it's very specific instances, and it's global. That's true. But right now, I think people are just hoping to ignore it in many cases and just hope it'll go away or remediate it. But, it's just human nature.
Have you seen? It's human nature. What a scary thing.
It's a scary, scary thing.
I love it, man. That's so true. But, hey, we're here. and we're still listening. The idea that the governments or the regulatory bodies by the state, by the feds, I don't know, can put a lot more seismometers out there, a lot more listening arrays out in these areas of new development. Maybe not the old ones. Like I have the house I live in is on a big cave system in San Antonio.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no opening. No one's been able to like go into them, but you can see it in geophysics. And this neighborhood's just built right over the top of it. And I'm going, all right, I'm getting out of here, like I'm looking to move. Just because of that reason. I don't want to live on that. And I'm sure the developers didn't know that was, exactly what was going on. But if we have these ways to monitor in new areas of new development, how much waste can we save in the future if we just invest in that today? If we get seismic monitoring devices at higher resolutions across the states, use the United States as a perfect playground for that. Everyone that I would imagine in political or the state level, the citizens, like everyone would be in agreement. Let's get a better idea of like where sinkholes could happen, and let's not develop that. Like, right? Doesn't that, it just makes sense. And you guys have the technology, you have the proven track record of doing that. You're currently doing that, right? You have current projects that are monitoring areas that are watching where potential sinkholes are developing.
Yeah, so I think the solution to this is in fiber. It's ubiquitous, and I was just walking down the street with my buddies from Terra 15, and they pointed out where the water main is, right? And then if you look around, you can see all these other hatches where the utilities, and it's, the fibers in there, the telco, electricity.
Yeah.
And so, case in point, they are currently monitoring, I think it's 30 miles of water delivery pipes in Perth. And so the fiber can pick up a pinhole leak probably 5 meters away. And so the question would be, what's that worth to you, Mr. Water Company, if we can tell you that you've got a pinhole leak right now, and maybe you can schedule your time better to fix it before it comes a broken water main, which is huge here in Houston. As you notice, you go through the suburbs, there's water flowing everywhere here. Now, obviously, the problem is they don't have enough skilled people to fix it, but the fact that you could know about it in advance, I'm sure that's got to be worth something.
Big time.
But fiber is everywhere, and for condos that are falling apart in Florida, to EOR injection in California, where they're using steam, and that can express itself through the surface and immolate people. I mean, there's ways to monitor this that fiber will make that a lot easier. And so we as a company are committed to taking the fiber data and processing it. And so we have partners to do that as well.
Right on.
Yeah, but I think fiber is the way to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, Charlie, I'm excited, man. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for, just being there and addressing these challenges that you see, seeing technologies that you believe in, and your perspective on that is incredibly valuable. I mean, you're definitely going to ride this out with Microseismic Inc., and that's really important for a lot of us. And I'm keeping tabs on you. I don't know if do you ever write papers? Do you ever get out there and give presentations on these kinds of ideas and your perspective on this?
We do it all the time. Maybe not myself. I mean, I do, but we have very smart people who write papers, and we deliver them at conferences like this.
Yeah.
And so, and it's just, thank you very much, Troy. It's a pleasure to work here at Microseismic. It's a very nice family atmosphere.
Nice.
We're a small company, but we all pull together to get the result.
Man.
And it's just been a fantastic experience for me. So I'm very happy to carry on, and thank you.
Right on. Charlie, thank you.
Right.